Because I'm like a struggling watch salesman and have way too much time on my hands, I thought it'd be a smart idea to see how long it takes to defeat your rival in every Pokemon game. I originally wasn't going to make this video because I just assumed you always battled your rival immediately after getting your starter. Turns out that's not the case in every Pokemon game. Before we begin, I have a confession to make. I wrote all that Typhlosion fanfiction at the Pokemon Company and was just as surprised as you when they made it canon. Also, similar to how they shot the last scene of the Lord of the Rings trilogy first, I filmed these gameplay videos somewhat out of order. It wasn't until partway through that I made the decision to change it from battle your rival to defeat your rival, so the timer might not always stop in exactly the right spot. Last time around I did things in chronological order. This time I'll do them in an illogical order and go from newest to oldest, starting with Scarlet and Violet. Nemona's always itching for a battle in Scarlet and Violet, which is different than the itching I had after that Tinder date with a yoga instructor who didn't believe in soap. Naturally, we battled shortly after getting my starter, where she chose the one weak to mine, in this case Twaxley. A couple of leafage later from my Sprigatito, and the rival battle was won in 15 minutes and 30 seconds into my Paldean journey. Legends Arceus may be different from typical Pokemon games, but they're still rivals. Depending on how you view what a rival is, the first fight takes place 21 minutes in, where you battle Volo and his Togepi. For true fans though, you know that Akari is the real rival and that takes place much later. Like, much later. First you have to go to Obsidian Fieldlands to catch your first Pokemon, then head back to Jubilife to learn some things, then travel back to Obsidian Fieldlands to catch a whole bunch more Pokemon, then head back to Jubilife to tell Silene about your progress. After all that, Akari finally challenges you to a battle against her level 9 Pikachu. And in just under an hour, I defeated my rival in Legends Arceus. After an exhausting 24 minutes, which included me catching multiple Pokemon, you might think it's time to battle Barry in the trainer school. Well, Ilka enjoys Cerule edging you because he just runs away, forcing you to chase after him. Yeah, instead of taking the improvements from Platinum and implementing them here, they just went with straight redos, which isn't for the better. While at the school, I decided to challenge the two kids and almost ran into disaster. A fast Abra with Charge Beam is terrible for Piplup and Starly, and both were KO'd. Thankfully, Bidoof is a beast and survived the first Charge Beam, dodging the second. Finally, after answering some clown questions, bro, I battled Barry. In what ended up being the longest rival fight, I used Growl, he used Withdraw. Starly doesn't learn flying moves early enough, so I basically had to lower his Turtwade's attack to nothing, then just Water Gun with Piplup until it was knocked out. 35 minutes into my journey, my first Barry beatdown was complete. Your memory of Sword and Shield has definitely been wrong all these years later. Instead of going directly from choosing your starter to Stomping Hop, you take a break to eat some Lechonk sausages, then sleep, then finally battle the next day. His Wooloo is easy, going down in a few hits while also helping you learn your first stab move. Even with Hop's Grookey getting a crit, I was able to beat him on my first try in just over 13 minutes. You're probably wondering how I have multiple Pokemon on my team, yet this is my first battle against Buttface. Well, unlike the original games, Let's Go is a little different. Not only does the frame rate constantly dip, but Buttface runs away after getting a starter, allowing you to experience things on your own first, including catching Pokemon. After returning Oak's parcel from the Pokemart, he rewarded me with some Riz and I was finally challenged to my first rival battle. Unfortunately, he only has one Pokemon, a level 6 Pikachu. Things were over far too quickly, which is what my second ex-wife used to say to me all the time. Regardless, in less than 15 minutes, Buttface was taken care of. Incidentally, because you get it on so late, the second battle takes place mere minutes after the first. I traveled to Route 22 where our eyes met and we whipped out our balls. Except where past entries were terrifying for those unprepared, he has just a level 3 Pidgey and a level 7 Pikachu here. So after 20 minutes, I'd beaten off my rival twice. As you'll soon see, Ultra Sun and Moon are improvements over Basic Sun and Moon, at least early on. Where the first Hal fight happens post Lily and Nebby in the originals, the Ultra versions get you into the action much faster. Ahead of Icky Town, Hal comes running out, picks the starter weak to yours, and challenges you to a battle. Since I had access to Leafage, it was easy, over in just 12 minutes and 28 seconds, with Rowlet taking a mere 3 points of damage. In the Ultra versions, you already had your starter and beat Hop by the time it takes to get your starter in OG Sun and Moon. It's not until after you've saved Nebby and met the Kahuna that Hal challenges you to a battle. Of course, because I chose Litten, he went with Rowlet, who went down in just over 18 minutes and 30 seconds from 2 Ember. All he did was a critical tackle, which erased just 6 HP. Afterwards, Hal mentions that the battle gave him chicken skin. For normal people who are fans of R.L. Stein, chicken skin is another term for goosebumps. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire barely waste any time starting your journey. In less than 10 minutes, I had already prevented myself from falling out of a moving truck, got my starter, and battled May. What's interesting isn't that she picks the type you're weak to. It's that you can lose this battle. Well, you can lose any battle. but sometimes the AI will throw harder than Sock's counterpart. Here, if you lose, you have to pay May money and restart from your house. How do I know this? Because she beat me on my first attempt as we traded scratches and tackles. Then on the second attempt, she got a critical hit right before I would have won. And on the third attempt, she started with a freaking crit, though I did just manage to win. All in all, it took 10 minutes to challenge her, but just over 17 minutes to beat her. Then Birch had the audacity to congratulate me for winning on my first try, the jerk. Out of curiosity, I queued up a copy of Omega Ruby and managed to beat her on my first attempt, though it did take just under 13 minutes. That's because I grinded to level 7. Had I not done that, it probably would have been another loss. So believe it or not, May from the Ruby and Sapphire remakes is the toughest first rival battle. Whereas most Pokemon games have one rival, X and Y have several. For the first rival battle, I faced Shauna, who chose Fennekin, which is of course weak to my Froakie. It's kinda shiesty what she did. First, they all tell me to deliver a letter to my mom, then out of nowhere, Shauna ambushes me and forces me into a battle after just 5 minutes. Yeah, X and Y waste no time with obtuse things like story, that's for sure. Thanks to Stab Bubble and her decision to whip her tail back and forth, it was an easy victory after just 6 minutes. Since this is a brand new story set inside the same world as the originals, just 2 years later, Bianca and Sharon are drawn as rivals. Instead, it's Hugh as a new rival as you fight for survival, but nothing can stop you because he only has an Oshawott raised from an egg. Well, I scrambled that egg in 7 minutes flat. I did get a crit, which ultimately didn't matter as Tepig's too strong to be defeated by anyone. But with every win, there's a chance to begin again, so let's move to the first Black and White games. After setting an insane pace for getting your starter, Black and White keep the pedal to the Melmetal and waste no time jumping right into battling even though you're still in your room. It was a close fight between Oshawott and Bianca's Tepig, but I just managed to eke out a win, destroying my boudoir in the process. Everything except the Wii in pieces, Charon healed Oshawott, who didn't level up from the Bianca battle and challenged me to a fight. His Snivy started with a crit because of course it did. I think the AI is programmed to let me win though because he went Leer, Tackle, Leer, Leer, securing the victory. And in less than 6 minutes, I'd already defeated both my rivals. After meeting up with an old man who gave me a pair of running shoes solely so we could see my bare feet, I made it to Mr. Pokemon's house, visiting Hooters numerous times along the way. As I tried to return to New Barktown, that's when the dastardly passerby boy ambushed me in my level 7 Cyndaquil with a level 5 Totodile. A few tackles later, I defeated my rival in Heart Gold and Soul Silver in less than 20 minutes. Yeah, if you've forgotten, it's quite a gap between getting your starter and beating Team Udary and Johto. For whatever reason, Pokemon Platinum doesn't really put any emphasis on the fact that you got a Pokemon. Literally in the same breath as getting your starter, Barry challenges you to a battle. He of course chose Chimchar to oppose my Grass Turtle. Since this is from a time when they didn't know stab moves, it was Tackle versus Scratch. Except Barry used Leer 3 times in a row, meaning I won on my first try fairly easily 8 minutes into the game. Just like the Switch remakes, it takes a long time to battle your rival in Diamond and Pearl. But that's not what I want to talk about. A few steps away from Dawn's catching tutorial, I ran into this level 3 Kricketot. It used Bide, I absentmindedly kept using Chimchar Scratch. Well, the damn thing knocked out Chimchar. Starly cleaned it up to avoid a whiteout, but I never thought my starter would get destroyed by such a weakling. Speaking of weaklings, Barry finally challenged me to a battle after 35 minutes. I thought I had a great strategy of using Starly's Growl and Shinx's Intimidate. Turns out he had the same strategy and spammed Growl on Piplup endlessly, causing the battle to take 4 minutes. So although I won, it took a total of 39 minutes to beat my rival for the first time living in Sinnoh. Before I even had a chance to know what the inside of Bulbasaur's bulb feels like, Gary challenged me to a battle in Oak's lab in Leaf Green. Because this game was designed as a way to trick children into becoming lifelong Pokemon fans, Oak takes time to explain what a battle is. While I nearly lost because of a freaking crit, Bulbasaur managed to outspeed Charmander just in time to take the win in 4 minutes and 35 seconds with only 3 HP remaining. While Game Freak did just enough to make Emerald seem different from Ruby and Sapphire, sort of like when my ex-wife dyed her hair red and got a nose piercing, deep down they're pretty much the same. So it only took me 8 minutes and 15 seconds to pass Oldale Town and beat May's Mudkip with my Torchic. There was a moment of worry as I was only level 6 and she got a crit, but the Funky Chicken won in the end. Just like Emerald, after passing through Oldale Town, you meet May hiding in the bushes and sneak up behind her. She punishes you with a battle. Normally, a chicken would beat a gecko in a fight. But my Gecko was a couple levels ahead, easily winning the battle in 11 minutes, which would make Millie Bobby Brown proud. If you're wondering about the discrepancy between the two games, the answer is wild Pokemon encounters. As you've already seen with the DS remakes, your rival in Johto is a Rapscallion. Instead of battling in Elm's lab after getting your starter, you have to go through all the Mr. Pokemon stuff, then head back to Professor Elm's. I also noticed along the way that Chikorita had a berry. Except where in future games all berries have names, here this one's just called Berry, like the guy from Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. Finally, after running the errand, I managed to beat Sliver Cyndaquil just shy of 17 minutes in, thanks to being overleveled. On my way to Mr. Pokemon in the originals, I realized the XP bar goes from left to right in Gen 2, which hurt my brain more than Game Freak's decision to omit Murkrow and Houndour from Johto in Gold and Silver. During the trek, I battled far too many wild Pokemon and was reminded how sadistic Game Freak was back in the day when it came to walking with a poison Pokemon. Because Silver Starter, a Chikorita in this case, is level 5, the battle is a breeze and I beat him off in less than 17 minutes. Back in the earliest of days, Game Freak respected your time and got things out of the way as quickly as possible. For Yellow, Gary challenges you to a battle literally 20 seconds after adding Pikachu to your team. Unlike the devil known as May, Gary was no issue getting his Eevee's cheeks clapped in 5 minutes. Finally, we end at the beginning. While you've seen that several later games mix things up, it's no shock to your younger self that the first rival fight in Red and Blue takes place immediately after getting your starter. Because Game Freak hated kids back then, Gary picked the one strongest against yours, which meant he chose Squirtle to destroy my Charmander. Luckily, nobody knows any stab moves, and he used Tail Whip a few times. Then I got a crit, and he got a crit, ultimately leading to my victory in less than 4 minutes through the brilliant strategy of pressing A repeatedly. In terms of which Pokemon game takes the longest to defeat your rival, it's not close. Legends Arceus wins, or I guess loses, by far, coming in at just under an hour. Both sets of Diamond and Pearl games are next up, taking 35 minutes or more. On the flip side, Black and White take the crown as quickest games to defeat your rival, with Red and Blue mere seconds behind. The most interesting change is definitely from Diamond and Pearl to Platinum, as it's nearly 30 minutes faster in the third entry. As you pause the video and stare at this list to increase my watch time, let everyone know which game surprised you the most.